Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for excluding my brother-in-law's wife and their love child from a family vacation? My sister and I were married to brothers until it was revealed that my brother-in-law had a secret love child with his now wife. He also has 2 children with my sister. I want nothing to do with the wife, and she tried to leverage her child as a way to force my husband and in-laws into making me accept her, so she gets excluded too. I'm planning a family vacation, and the only reason I invited my brother-in-law is because he has custody during the 2 weeks the trip is taking place. I made it clear his wife isn't invited and that my sister will be there with her boyfriend. He said he and the kids would be coming, but then his wife found out and now she's having a meltdown because their daughter's birthday is during the trip. She said I keep excluding her and her daughter from everything and have made them feel like they aren't part of the family, and she wouldn't let me keep doing this. Now he's telling me he won't come, and neither will the kids unless I invite them too, which I refuse to do. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. Info: is there a reason you can't schedule this vacation when your sister has custody? Then you don't have to invite him, and that solves most of the problem here. Those 2 weeks are the only time the majority are available, including my husband. For the summer, the vacation will be a lot smaller if I delay it, and likely won't include my husband. NTA: your brother-in-law destroys his family with an affair, and now everyone else has to look the other way because he's a cheated a-hole. He should recognize his mistakes and let his kids go without him. His new wife and their child. I know it's not the new kids' fault, but they are terrible people for holding your sister's kids hostage and leveraging another to go on a trip where nobody wants them. They suck. Yeah. Upon further inspection of this very tangled web, ex-husband is seriously not making anyone's lives easier. Am I the antagonist? My fiance's best man is being asked to not be the best man by his wife. Long post alert. My fiance and I are getting married next year. My fiance is hard of hearing and his best man is deaf. Both can hear partially with hearing aids in. They have been best friends since they were 4 years, and my fiance was his best man a few years ago. The best man's wife is fully deaf, meaning she can't hear and relies on signing and lip reading. At their wedding I didn't know anyone except my fiance, but as he was the best man I just did my best to get on with it. I wasn't sat with him during the ceremony or the meal. He was on the top table, and I was on a table near the back with deaf people who I couldn't speak to as I can't sign. That was all fine as it's their day and I understand and wanted them to have a good time. Now the best man's wife has messaged us saying that she wants her husband to sit with her during the ceremony and not stand next to my fiance. She doesn't want him to pass us the rings, and she also has said he won't be doing a speech but will be sitting next to her during the meal. She has already said that her husband can't stay overnight with my fiance the night before the wedding, which we have been fine with, even though my fiance stayed with her husband when he was best man. We have also previously said that we would put her on a table right near the front during the meal with my family so she can be near him. I have also said yes to her inviting a deaf friend of hers to my hen do that I don't know, so that she has company there. I feel like we are trying to be as accommodating as possible. The real problem is none of this is really about her deafness, it is about control. I feel she is using her disability as an excuse. She has done this to him many times before and stopped him going on stag dos and even wanted to come on his stag do with him because she doesn't want him to do anything without her. It's getting to the point we don't know how much more we can take. My fiance is so upset he can't even talk to them, so I have said they can either come and support us as best man or they don't need to come at all. I need to know, am I the asshole here? Now for the top comments. NTA: not even up for debate. This woman's trying to dictate your wedding and her husband's life because she doesn't want to sit by herself for a few hours. The world doesn't revolve around her. Never a fan of people speaking on behalf of their soul like that either. Just seems controlling tbh. I know, but I do feel bad as she can't communicate with anyone else there. I've tried to say it's just for the ceremony and the meal, or even she can even sit with him at meal, but we'd still like him to do speech. NTA: A million times not the a-hole I've been where the best man is, and it will end badly with his soul shattered and him not knowing who he is. If Hubs can get him to try and talk to him, but nothing is guaranteed, as I wouldn't listen to anybody. Yeah, I know we have tried, and he even talks to my fiancé regularly saying he can't take it anymore, but they have kids, and he does love her, so we just try to be as supportive as we can. This has pushed us over edge though. Am I the antagonist for being inappropriate with my husband in front of my son's friend and his mom? This is my first time posting, so sorry if this is the wrong subreddit for this post. My husband Will, 46 male, and I, 44F, had my son's best friend, both are 14 male, and his mom, 47F, over for dinner. I thought everything was going fine. The mom, who I will call S, was kind of quiet, but the kids seemed to be having fun. Then while Will and I were getting dessert ready, S blew up out of nowhere. I will say Will and I are pretty affectionate with one another. We enjoy each other's company. During dinner one of would occasionally lean on each other or grab the other's hand. While we were getting dessert ready, the dining room table can see the kitchen BC, it is just on the other side of the counter island. We were goofing off a little bit. We laughing and pushing each other a little. We would hip bump each other and occasionally give each other a peck on the lips or cheek. One of the times my husband gave me a peck on the lips. S starting yelling. She said that she has had enough of our lewd behavior and that she and her son were leaving BC, they were uncomfortable. Her son started to say he wasn't, but she cut him off. I have never considered this to be lewd behavior and told her that. But she got angry again and said it was just inappropriate for us to act like that in front of guests and in front of our own son. They then left. My son was confused and upset that they left. My husband told me afterwards that he thinks she is just upset BC she recently got a divorce. I don't think we acted inappropriately, but I want to be sure. As a mother, I wouldn't want someone being inappropriate in front of my son. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA. She is, and clearly she's got some hang-ups about intimacy. Yeah, hang-ups that probably include a big steaming pile of jealousy. If that's what is considered inappropriate, then I'm screwed, cause my husband and I are the same way. Edit. I feel like I should clarify that my husband and I are like op, not the jealous lady. I don't think it's lewd, but it is sort of making her feel like a third wheel. Her son and your son are hanging together and she has no one to interact with while the two of you are whispering and giggling together. A bit rude. The level of intimacy is sweet on the one hand and not exactly rude, but also not a level of intimacy I'd expect shown around a guest, especially not one you're having over for the first time. Everything I've been taught about hosting does suggest both adult hosts leaving the other adult guest alone for long enough to repeatedly hip bump / flirt / kiss is rude, especially when you're basically in the same room ignoring her. Like whispering to each other would be rude. Leaving her to interact with the children. Effectively a fifth wheel. You're not the a-hole, and her reaction is more than likely related to her divorce, but as far as hosting goes, it wasn't great. Am I the antagonist for telling my GF she's too dumb to go to law school? Throwaway account. I, 28 male, am a lawyer. I'm working for a non-profit. My GF, 28F, is a caseworker. We connected over our interest in our work. Recently, she has told me she also wants to go to law school. TBH. I have very serious reservations for anyone going to law school. It's a huge time and financial commitment, and it is not some easy path to money or fame. But I became very concerned BC she kept saying she wanted to do what I did. Honestly, I don't feel like I'm making the change or impact I should be. I'm very strongly considering changing professions. For her, who is interested in the social justice aspect, I feel like she doesn't truly understand some of the limitations of being a lawyer in the social justice field. I tried to tell her about the above issues, but she said she knew what she wanted. She asked me to look at her application essay, and it was terrible. I was honestly shocked. While she is not a native English speaker and has a strong accent, she went to high school and graduated from a good college. We've never had an issue of communicating. but her written work, which I had never seen, was just objectively bad. If I had never spoken to her, I would have assumed from her writing she was learning English, not basically fluent. My initial reaction upon reading her essay was, if she writes like this in a personal essay, there is no way she is going to be able to handle the memo. Writing in law school is hard. It is an entirely different form and style, and a lot of students, even the most gifted, struggle. I really couldn't envision this working out. So, I told her that. My basic point was, I think you have to prepare a lot more and think a lot more about this decision. I just don't think your expectations of law school match the reality, and you definitely need to improve your writing skills a lot more to be a competitive student. She immediately reacted angrily, telling me I was arrogant, that just because I had gone to law school didn't mean I knew everything, that her English was fine, and she couldn't believe I was telling her she was too dumb to go. I tried to tell her it wasn't about her intelligence, but about her expectations and preparation. But she basically told me to go to hell. I guess I could have been more supportive from the get-go and softened the approach. But I honestly think she would be making a huge mistake in even attempting to go to law school. The fact that her writing ability is subpar just seals it for me. So, am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA. You were honest, which is good. You know it's not only hard, but a huge time and financial commitment. It would be worse, in my opinion, if you weren't honest and let her try to go through the process, which she can certainly still try, but you told her the truth. I would say not the a-hole. I have friends in law school, and for 50% of students, even from top tier law schools, they get incredibly depressed, regret their decision for going to school, and don't do as well for big law jobs. Law school is a huge, and sometimes horrible financial and mental commitment. NTA. You were honest, and you didn't insult her. You just told her the truth she didn't want to hear. Indeed. Now do your best to support her as she makes her own decisions about it. You've stated your opinion, and she heard you. If she fails, support her in that disappointment as well, and don't say I told you so or anything similar. Am I the antagonist for yelling at my sister-in-law for telling my son I didn't love his dad anymore? I left my husband and marital home in February. My son is only 4 and has been having a hard time adjusting living between different homes because he's not used to being away from me. Recently has been upset about something and having tantrums more frequently. A few days ago, he had a tantrum and said I didn't love his daddy anymore, so he didn't like me. When he finally calmed down, I found out my sister-in-law told him that's why I wasn't living with them or going on vacation with them anymore. I was furious because while my sister-in-law is only 18 and has been having a hard time with the separation too, as she's lived with us since I married my husband and we were very close. I feel like she's old enough to know better. I went to speak to her and she was giving me attitude and acting like she was only telling my son the truth. I was angry, and while I'm not proud of it, I did yell at her and she yelled back. My husband, who has been ignoring and avoiding me since I left, was called downstairs and told us that was enough. He was furious at both of us, and we ended up arguing too. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA. She's an adult and he's 4. She needs to get over it. NTA. She involved herself in something that had nothing to do with her. NTA. She didn't make that comment to your son for any reason other than resentment and anger. She knew he's not old enough to comprehend the complexities of a split up, so she put it in words he thinks he understands that will undoubtedly only be painful. Am I the antagonist for not wanting to pick this woman as my roommate? I, 25F, am getting my first apartment with my friend Valeria. We want to live in this nicer apartment complex that will require us to have a third roommate, and since we don't know anyone who needs a roommate, we started looking online. We found this woman named Callie that we both thought was really nice. When we initially met her, Val and I decided it would be a good idea to ask any potential roommates to provide us with the number of their last roommate or the last place they lived so we could confirm if they were a good person to live with. Callie gave us the number and we called her last roommate, a woman named Didnt. Eden told us that Callie asked her to lie about being a good roommate and that she was horrible to live with. Apparently, Callie would go months without paying the rent, and when Eden asked her about it, she would have excuses or just not come home for days, so she wouldn't have to answer for it. Callie's boyfriend would come over often, and they would keep Eden up at night with their screaming fights, or the boyfriend would eat all the food in their fridge like 2 days after Eden bought it. And then the last thing she told us is that Callie didn't even give her notice. Eden just woke up one morning and Callie was gone. So now I don't want to live with her, because who wants all that drama and chaos in their home? But Valor's saying we should give Callie a chance, because she told us she needs a place to live really badly. She's living with her boyfriend in his small apartment, but he has 2 male roommates and she says the place is a mess, and maybe she might be a better roommate. I told Val I'm not signing a lease with someone who might pay the rent every once in a while on top of all the other BS. Val says him not being understanding or kind, and even my mother agrees, because everyone goes through a rough patch and needs a little help. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA. Callie's history is bad. I don't get why Val is so ready to put you both in a potentially bad living situation. You don't even know Callie. You don't owe her a chance. NTA. The most screwed up thing about this is that Eden was the best reference that Callie could come up with. So either Callie is totally oblivious to all of the crap that she put Eden through, so she thinks Eden thought she was a good roommate, or Eden was the best reference from the dumpster fire that is Callie's life. Callie isn't even sly enough to get a fake reference for you guys. I'm a landlord, and my lease application asks for 2 references. In more than 30 years, I'm not sure I have ever called any of those references. Because if you can't come up with people who are willing to lie for you, then that's pretty frightening. So why would I trust anything that these references said about the potential tenant? The only reason I leave it on the application is because it is such a standard question that when I took it off, people asked about it. I don't even trust the phone number of who their last landlord was, and do internet searches on the phone number they gave me and for the actual number of the landlord. You'd be surprised how many times they've given me a number/person who isn't their most recent landlord. I tend to call the number they gave me and ask about an apartment for rent. Hey, I'm calling about a sign I saw for an apartment for rent. About half the time, the person says they don't have any apartments for rent. I ask if they have any coming up for rent, and they tell me they don't have apartments. I must have the wrong number. So I clearly know that they aren't the landlord of the applicant. NTA. There's a difference between giving someone a chance and taking them on to raise. Your mother is welcome to take in this woman if she thinks she is deserving of help.